What hobby do you enjoy that's cheap/free? Cooking can be a pretty cheap hobby. I mean, you have to eat anyway. Might as well enjoy the processes of making your own food. Scroll through Reddit trying to find new hobbies and enjoyment, but not actually getting anywhere. I make things out of willow. Any bendy stick will do. Takes weeks, but I just keep adding more sticks until it fills the space where I see the object. I started by deciding to make a nest one day out of some logs and limbs. It turned into a huge weaver's nest. Since then I've done moose, sea serpents, herons, owls, just all kinds of things. I grow my own willow now, but it was definitely a free hobby. Wow, you are very talented, especially at such an uncommon activity. I actually have honest talks with myself through writing. You'd be amazed how much reading your own thoughts can help you. I've kept a diary for the last 10 years. I find it really helpful to try figuring out why I think a certain way about something. Basically self-analysis. I'm no psychoanalyst, but for me it sure beats having to pay the fees they charge. Enjoying nature. Hiking. Find parks or trails in your area and check them out. There are a lot of cool places to explore. To add to this, geocaching. People hide boxes and put the coordinates on the internet, so you go looking for them scavenger hunt style. Gets me outdoors on new hiking trails all the time I never would have considered. Geogassa. The vegetation of this place looks like the one on this part of the world. There is even a sign in the language spoken over there, and when you guess, you miss by 3,000 kilometers. Working out. Even when stuck indoors self-isolating or whatever, there is a lot of stuff you can do without any equipment. Body weight stuff like press-ups, squats, sit-ups, etc. I will email politicians asking for their autograph. Since politicians work for the people, they usually oblige. I have received correspondence from my local MPs, random mayors in South Africa, to a few Norwegian prime ministers. I don't why I do it. I guess I like getting things in the mail. Edit. Thanks for awards. There are my first ever awards and I appreciate it. And you. Close bracket. Origami. You can buy paper for dirt cheap and spend hours folding. Yes. And you don't need to buy paper either. I fold all kinds of candy wrappers, mail, old scientific poster, wrapping paper, wallpaper. Recently I started teaching my friends and their kids. It's an awesome way to kill 5 minutes or 5 hours. Playing tabletop role-playing games with friends. It can be an expensive hobby if you want it to be, but it can be totally free too. All you need are a couple of friends, a rule set, and a pencil and paper. Dice are nice too, but technically you can get away with an app or just Google. Reading books. Chess. Pouring river water in my socks. I like to build blanket forts and stuff. Yeah, I know I've kinda outgrown it, but I still think it's fun. Cross stitch. Basically pixel art on fabric. You can get a ton of patterns online for free or just a few bucks. And the thread/fabric for a first project usually runs $5-10 and will keep you busy several hours. You can buy a beginner kit at any hobby store. It's what I do to unwind every night, and I've had some beautiful results, if I may say so. Embroidery too. It's a small curve once someone first tries to get into it, but after reaching that point it's amazing. I know it seems like a really feminine hobby. Keep in mind I embroidered carpe diem on the ear of a pair of pants for my D&D friend. I've also embroidered patches for denim jackets. Procrastination. There could be a slight possibility that we may, in fact, be in a video game, and that making the right sequence of steps, jumps, and crouches could activate cheats. For the past 6 weeks, I've been determined to figure these codes out, but so far I've only activated a sprained ankle and diarrhea. At the very least, it's exercise. Walking. I love walking. I live in an older neighborhood, so I see a variety of architectural styles of houses, and you can see the different lot and property sizes, seeing people's landscaping choices, and really enjoying the changing of the seasons, and how the length of day changes, etc. Baking. Most baking ingredients are cheap, and you can end up saving money on not buying baked goods. Reading. Books are generally cheap, and nowadays you can even find lots of classics online for free. Making environments for tabletop pen and paper games. You can start out very cheap just using what you have. Drawing. Yeah. Art supplies can be crazy expensive, but all you need to start is paper and something to draw with. Can be the backside of junk mail and a pencil. Hell, I used a burnt end of a stick and a brown paper bag once when bored while camping. Online tutorials can teach you pretty much everything you want to know. 2. Hiking. Everyone talks about the best gear and map reading skills, but in reality, to get started all you need to do is get yourself a semi-decent pair of boots/trail runners and head outside. If you're a beginner, stick to popular trails. Then you can slowly build up map reading skills and slowly get gear if you want to. Embroidery. While there are lots of tools and fancy equipment you can get, if you get really into it, it's one of the cheaper crafts to get started with. You just need some fabric, a hoop, some needles, and some embroidery floss. You can get started with about $10. I bought one kit to see if I liked it, and then use the leftover materials plus a piece of scrap fabric to start making my own designs. Disc golf. $10 state park pass for the year, and then just buy discs. Can get a set for like $30. After that cost, it is just gas to get to the park. There are paid courses, but I enjoy the ones at the state parks. Plus that $10 a year I pay helps upkeep on the parks. Looking at rocks. Collecting rocks. Using sandpaper and labor to polish rocks. Sleeping. Singing. Mushroom hunting. Foraging. I haven't actually done too much foraging, aside from eating all the out of control purslane that grew uninvited in my garden last year, but r/foraging makes me want to give it a try. Disc golf. Most courses are situated in or around public parks, so they are open to anyone. All you need is 3 discs to get started, a driver, mid-range, and a putting disc. A starter set might be $20. You're good to play around. Mind you, the hobby can get expensive. If you find that you like the hobby, you're gonna want to get discs with better quality plastic that won't warp when you snipe a tree. Different discs for different situations, a bag to carry them all in, etc. But just to find out if you like the hobby, the initial buy-in is remarkably cheap. Reading. Check your local library. They likely lend out ebooks for free, and you can read them on your phone. If you don't have an ebook reader, there's a lot of crafty skills that can be done very cheaply. Embroidery, needle felting, sewing. If you're willing to get creative with your fabric sources, and drawing just takes paper and a pen or pencil. Painting can be fairly cheap too, depending on what sort and quality of paints you use. There are tons of free art tutorials on YouTube. Arrowhead hunting. I think it's neat to find something that humans made that hasn't been touched in hundreds or thousands of years. I live near a river in the Midwest, US, and the farmers' fields along the river tend to have a good supply of Stone Age tools/weapons. Always get permission first though. Writing. While I have spent money on it, literally just a world building software, I can do it for free. It's a great place to offload all my thoughts and ideas. And it's also really fun to just get into the headspace of the various character perspectives. Online shopping, but just adding stuff to my cart and never actually buying it. Knitting is relatively inexpensive, especially in the beginning when you're learning technique and yarn quality isn't as important. Once you learn the basics, you can make scarves and hats quickly and easily. Playing/listening to music. Yelling at clouds. Overthinking. Cooking isn't free, but for a long time I've tried to do the most I can with whatever ingredients I have available, forcing myself to become more imaginative and creative with cooking. It's become a hobby for me. Now I've been professionally trained and had plenty of kitchen experience, but cooking at home is still a hobby. It's not expensive if you're not always trying to shoot for the stars. Just focus on making the meals you were already making. and find ways to church them up a bit. Sitting on the couch and daydreaming about space fleet battles. Cheap hobby, probably doing word searches. Walking in the nature. Okay, this will probably sound really creepy, but if I'm being honest, people watching. If I'm outside somewhere, I often have a habit of just observing others. It's not just specifically people. It could be a bird landing and pecking at the ground, or noticing something floating in the air that has caught my attention. But I do often find myself just curiously observing people. I try not to be a creep and stare at any person too long because that's kinda rude. But I'm naturally curious about others. I like viewing how others dress, what mannerisms they have, how they smile, how they walk, stand, etc. I just find it interesting to be on the outside seeing people existing. I don't know how else to explain it. There is no malicious intent, creepiness, or judgment on my part. I'm just curious about others around me. I don't know if this is technically a hobby, because I don't go out of my way to do this or plan it. But I definitely spend a lot of my time observing others if I'm out in public and have nothing to do. Lol. Free video games from Epic Games.